Hello, everybody. How we doing today? Can I get a quick little sound check? Oh, all right, all right. Doing good. Awesome. Was a tough day, definitely. So, I get why some of you might be a little down, but no worries. We'll go over it. We'll go over the opportunities. But most importantly, on days like this, we'll also go over how you could have predicted said conditions, search and destroy the whole morning session, and how you can avoid them, right? By predicting them, you can decide to stay away from the markets and come back later, which is what I did. I am doing great, Nat. Thank you for asking. But again, starting on our daily charts, what do we see? Same thing as we've been looking for. We want to wait till Nasdaq invalidates this fair value gap, right? Inverts this fair value gap before we can see any sort of low resistance liquidity run. And on ES, we traded back down again into the order block. So we'll be looking at those levels. I want to mark those out before we do anything else. Give me a second. So let's mark the bullish daily order block. We've been looking at the 4-hour order block when we looked at it yesterday. This order block right here, a little more precise, but I want us to have clear rules, and right now the daily is clean, right? We just took out external range liquidity, and you would anticipate a retracement into a premium inefficiency, which we just headed for. So our move is now complete. We are waiting for another move to form, while on ES, we have a clear objective higher. NASDAQ is having a little bit of a hard time following. If we look at the weekly open, let me just pull up the power of 3 for the weekly candle very quickly. I believe it must be this one. There it is. And we just zoom out and we look at our specific levels, we'll see that we opened, expanded lower for low, and are now, by the way, the open on NASDAQ is at the order block, expanded lower for low, and are now expanding higher. Again, taking into consideration it's NFP week, I expect a lot of back and forth, but definitely for tomorrow, I'm going to be looking higher because we did just induce these highs right here. If we look on the yes, there is SMT. No, it's these highs. So there is SMT here, I mean, from the past, but that makes it a clear objective. So I'm going to be looking at these relative equal highs alongside the following, which is this one, even lower, this one, which is the correlated swing point for this level. So uncorrelated markets create high resistance liquidity runs. I want to dive down to a 15-minute chart very quickly and pop open the sessions, more specifically London, because we did have a London raid set up today, but that overnight Judah swing causing London lows to be taken, and you would expect that on New York Open we would head for London highs, got taken out specifically. Let me just take it off out the way. Got taken specifically at the 9:30 open. So right here we had London highs at 3 a.m. The 2 a.m. something, sorry. So let me just mark it out for you guys. Right here, we had London highs that got taken out specifically at 9:30. A big thing about ICT trading is being able to anticipate consolidation, and more specifically search and destroy conditions. At this 9:30, you could have seen London high raid and then expansion lower, try to trade a continuation short, but I was specifically only looking for longs based on our higher time frame order flow, right? This is all stuff we covered yesterday. If you weren't there, just head over to my YouTube, linked in the official links, and you'll be able to watch the recording where I went over what I was going to be looking for today. But if we just compare NASDAQ and ES right now, the first thing I notice is divergence everywhere, right? In between the swings, we have a lot of consolidation leading to SMT on both the highs and the lows. I'm not going to mark out all of them. There must be 20 instances of SMT at this specific time. So I'm not going to get into it. But when you have SMT on both the highs and the lows, and both sides of London session have been taken pre-market or at 9:30 open, which would be considered pre-market as well, then those are clear signals to avoid New York Open. And when I talk about New York Open, I am speaking about the opening range, which is from 9:30 to 10:30. And more specifically 10, you would look at that as the opening range to look for deviations, but up until 10:30 you would wait for a trade after the opening range. And if we take also into account that we had 10 a.m. news, I am forgetting which news specifically. I'm actually going to head over to my Google very quickly and look for it. We had JOLTS. So JOLTS job openings, nothing very serious, at least to our knowledge. But you would anticipate this news to form manipulation. And as I said, I was looking for higher prices. So I did not want to see expansion higher off of this news. I wanted to see a Judas swing lower, and that did not come. We had Judas swing higher and then a manipulation lower, but that led me to expect that we were in search and destroy conditions, taking out both buy side and sell side of the range. And that is a signal for me to wait for the PM session. Of course, it looks picked right now. There were opportunities along the way. Like, for example, I see a clear unicorn right here off of this inverted fair value gap. Let me just mark it out. I'm not going to go in depth about it, but you had an entry here with your stop would have been at the swing low because you have inverted fair value gap, order block. You would have waited here, but your objective would have been the opening range high. And I would have never taken profits before then. So for me, that is just a stop loss. So I don't want to go over this trade in depth. The goal this morning was to notice that there were high resistance conditions and to decide to stay away because it was easier to handle than trying to trade these high resistance conditions. I'm not saying there won't be a setup for you guys. I'm just saying that oftentimes you'll get more losses than wins and end up unprofitable for this specific session. Where the opportunity came was in the PM session. More specifically, in lunch, we put up a low with SMT, and if we look at the morning, we had hit 1/3 ADR level. I don't talk about ADR a lot, but ADR helps me confirm my narrative ideas. So what ADR is average daily range. So we have the specific level of 1/3 average daily range and ADR, which is just the average daily range to the upside, 5 ADR. We'll be looking for those levels to find a Judas swing and then an expansion to 5 ADR to form our daily expansion. And that's on high probability trading days that you expect to have a large range. I did not expect today to have a large range. I believe we had 242 handles. Let's have a look. Yeah, 242 handle range, still above a 1% day filled with opportunity. You just had to be able to notice that expansion comes when time and price aligns. We were during the lunch session where you would anticipate a retracement or consolidation. We had an aggressive move lower to start off to get into lunch, then forming SMT at this specific level. So I'm going to mark out these important swings, and we could have also went and marked out these important swings. So I'm actually going to concentrate on this and mark out the SMT. And we will dive back into our NASDAQ chart in the 1 minute. That apparently it did not save, so I'm guessing we will have to go back over it. We had swing lows here, I believe. Yes, there we go. So we had SMT between ES and NASDAQ. Highest probability SMT there will ever be. Let me just mark it out correctly. That formed the low of the New York session just in general on ES and low of the lunch session on NASDAQ. What happened after? Well, we had a very specific pattern that we are familiar with, which is the formation of a breaker block. Multiple breakers within these two ranges. But what I really want to concentrate on is when we start trading. And as we know, we can start looking for lunch trades starting at 1. But when you don't have a lunch trade, which in this case you did not have a lunch trade because lunch was an expansion, you would wait for 1:30 and you would anticipate that the 2 p.m. 4-hour power of 3 will form the move. So I marked out all of these levels, and let's zoom in a little, because the first thing we did after 1:30 is a Judas swing lower into a balanced price range that was aligned with a previous unicorn. So right here we had a breaker block, and after breaking above this high, we had overlapping fair value gaps right here and down below, when there are two in close proximity like this, I like to combine them, but I don't want to confuse you guys, so we'll look at this one, which we did expand below, but then expanded higher and decided to respect this level. But what my main concentration was on was this specific balance price range. I understood that price will return multiple times to this balance price range. And why is that, right? That's why you guys are here, to try and learn and understand. So the reason why price returned to this balance price range multiple times is because time did not yet align, right? We were waiting for a new 4-hour candle to open, and then we were looking for a specific order and structure to form, right? Open, went and put up a low, and then expanded to a high. And if we look closer and we look at ES had a bunch of SMT that showed that ES was stronger at this specific level, but expanded higher, while NASDAQ was just heavy consolidation up until that 2 p.m. Right? If I mark out the open very quickly, from consolidating this long, right? We consolidated from about 30 minutes, let's call it 25 minutes. You can understand that the following power of 3 will be very quick. Why? Because we don't need to accumulate anymore. We've just been accumulating for the past 25 minutes, and more specifically 25 candles. So from that point on, you can anticipate a very aggressive move, and that's what we have. We opened, went and put up a low, and the specific level I was looking at this moment to know if we were going to expand lower for a low, right? Because these are low resistance liquidity runs, swings, failure swings, is this specific consequent encroachment, right? When you have a large wick and you have a time aspect coming forward, I use this as any other PD array to show me an indication of strength. And at this specific point, you expanded higher. I personally was in at this level looking for the respect of this balanced price range, but sadly, as you guys saw probably in general today, I got stopped out right here just before the big run and barely had a partial at this high. So I made a little bit of money and lost a little bit of money with a loss in the morning. It's a slow day for me, but with the consistency I have on a daily basis, I'm not scared to miss moves because I know there will always be more opportunity. That is a big thing that every trader has to learn. But if we look at it at the simplest aspect of it, what I see firsthand is this breaker block form with the 2 p.m. power of 3, right? Because in the PM session, you want to see that 2 p.m. power of 3 to form any type of framework. We are looking at this breaker block, last up close candle, with this sweep of liquidity. Let me mark it out correctly for you guys. With, again, the understanding I just shared, today was not the easiest day. I'm going to be honest, today was not the easiest day. It's the type of days you don't have to be mad from missing opportunities. So if you didn't trade today, don't worry about it. It is part of the game. This inverted fair value gap was an entry possibility if you don't mind entering before the breaker, right? And that comes through experience, anticipating the breaker block. But you also had this volume imbalance coupled with the fair value gap, very small fair value gap right here. But you did have this, which is an entry PD array, definitely. If not, I don't see any clear retracement up to the next volume imbalance fair value gap coupled with this high probability order block, which was another entry possibility. Very tight range in this before the large expansion, but you still had your opportunities, you still had your entry. Let's say you had the worst of the two entries. Let's go look at it. This is an implied fair value gap, which is not something I believe I have gone over yet. But I'd be looking at consequent encroachment of this wick and this wick. And yes, it is one tick, not even a one tick fair value gap, because basically TradingView does not register it because it is smaller than a tick. But if I barely lower that down, you'll see that I am not even one tick under, and it shows up as a one tick fair value gap. So as I said, today is not the day where you have to be mad at losing opportunities, but you did have this opportunity, and we expanded all the way to Asian highs, which for me was original consolidation framed for this market maker buy model, right? If you zoom out and purposely on a small time frame so you don't see the candle, you can easily frame a market maker model around this with your first stage redistribution right here. You have SMR at this level. Let me change the colors a little bit so we don't get too confused. With SMR lower, and then you had a huge consolidation here to redistribute price higher. We then reaccumulated after, well, during the power hour, and yeah, got a last run. But the true objective to me, this blue is the daily fair value gap, which we already tapped into it, but I want to see price expand and close above it. But this original consolidation, which is Asian session highs, was a definite objective. So you did have a lot of room for a trade setup in general, and the Rise model today performed great as always. It's been going pretty decent, but definitely not the clearest day. And just to repeat myself, do not be mad at missing trades on days like this. It is better to take a step back and leave your charts than to be stuck in here. And trust me, you can lose a lot of trade within consolidation, and you can tunnel vision very quickly. One of my biggest mistakes for sure for a long time before I just got okay with missing out, right? I tried to long early here and it did not reach my objective. It came back and stopped me out in a slight loss because I scaled in at this specific retracement. So took a slight loss, took a slight win in the afternoon with this partial, but then I got stopped out right here. Sadly, I had my stop a little too tight and I didn't want to tilt, so I got out. Missed out on this beautiful run, but as you guys know, it's part of the game. I'm not going to talk about this short because, as I said, my bias was to be bullish, so I'm not going to spend time shorting. There was a breaker unicorn setup here, but as I said, if my higher time frame expansion is going to be higher, I want to concentrate on the conservative approach to my model, which is only trading in your higher time frame narratives direction. So yes, if you're trading an aggressive approach, you had a bunch of small short scalps, but I was only looking for longs today, so I will not be going over those specifically. On that note, just to reiterate, and if you guys have any questions, by the way, now's the time, chat's open. But today, to me, it is truly a day. If you're entering in your journals tonight, I would concentrate on being able to figure out and predict these high resistance conditions. And we had an example. We had basically insight into that through taking out both sides of the London range and news Judah swing being in the opposite direction. Tunnel vision is just another way to say tilt. So it's not about just consolidation. It's really just tilt. So when you lose a lot of trades in a row, at least I'm talking for myself here. So I know that one of my biggest issues that stopped me from being profitable for a long time was that on days like this, I just wanted to be right. I knew my bias was right. I have a very high success rate with my daily direction. So is it going to be bullish, bearish? What is my objective? And my objective was clear. I knew it was going to get there, which were my relative equal highs. I was even lower at that time. I was looking for the morning highs in the PM session. But when you consolidate and you try to have tight stops, oftentimes you can just start tilting. And by tunnel visioning, I'm just saying you are not looking at anything anymore. You're just stuck on your idea and you're just taking trades in that direction, which oftentimes comes to large loss days. At least, again, talking about myself, that was one of my biggest issues. So that's what I mean by tunnel vision. Was that clear? I know I went a little bit all over the place with that explanation. So just give me a little thumbs up in chat if you understood. Awesome. All right. Are there any other questions in the audience for tonight? I'm not seeing anyone typing, so I'm guessing it was pretty clear. Not a day filled with opportunity, right? If we compare to yesterday. Awesome. But as I said yesterday, on NFP week, I am not picky at all. And anytime I have a good Monday like this week, I'm just done for the week. So I'm on low risk. Today I was risking $250 per trade. So I'm on super low risk and I'm just letting it run, seeing if I can build on that profit. But I am not risking to lose my Monday's profit on an NFP week. On that note, again, you guys, there's going to be a price action review tomorrow and another one on Friday. So very packed week. You'll get to see a lot more of me. But for tonight, that is all. You guys have a great week. Good luck trading tomorrow, and we'll actually see each other tomorrow night. See you guys.